Thanksgiving is a pure holiday. A day devoted to something that goes on within the person. When you sit at the table this Thanksgiving, when you perhaps lead in or take part in or listen to the grace that is said especially for Thanksgiving, turn your thoughts within. Go beyond the cursory giving thanks for the things of your life and count to one. Give thanks for the realization that you are, after all, the whole universe in focus as you. That's oneness. The light, the substance, the intelligence, the creativity of the universe flowing forth as you. Center your attention upon that. Give thanks from that consciousness. So instead of saying, I give thanks for all this, say, I give thanks from all this. All this in heaven, too, because heaven is the divine potential within you. It's been given to you replete with health and substance and creativity and all the good that you desire, ever present within you. Count to one.
I wish to awaken my fellows to a sense of their present possessions and help them to a realization of the principle which controls life's expressions, so that living being to them a fine art, they will cease to look for happiness in some far-off heaven, but will enter into the enjoyment of the one they create here and now. It is believed that this little monograph is the first utterance of the thought that each individual has the ability so to radiate his mental forces that he can cause the dollar to feel him, love him, seek him, and thus draw at will all things needed for his unfoldment from the universal supply. It will help you to rise above the drudgery of enforced labor and enable you to enter upon the manifold expressions of life and the joy of spontaneity of childhood. This is the thought which comes to you with this, my lesson of success. Henry Harrison Brown, San Francisco, California, May 1st, 1903.
But our minds are a strange mixture of joy and morbidity. We all have had so much negative and unhappy experience that it seems almost too good to be true, to believe that it really never is too late, that right now in a split second, the sun of truth can dispel the clouds of despair and bring new joy and new hope to the heart. Probably one of the greatest lessons we shall ever learn is right here, that all of the mistakes of yesterday can be canceled out now, today, if we permit them to be. The desert waited a long time to be cultivated with a hand of kindness, and its waste places might blossom, irrigated by the water from the high mountain top, where the everlasting snows of heaven melt down into a liquid, life-giving flow. Yes, the desert waited, but the mountain tops were always there, sublime in their majesty, and the sun was always shining, ever giving of its warmth and color, and the natural law of gravity was always causing the water to flow down to the desert. It was the desert that waited, not the water, not the sun, not the snow-topped mountains. But on that first day, when the water reached the dry and parched desert, new life began to spring within it, new hope. The thorn disappeared and the rose bush blossomed. The cactus was uprooted, and the date palm took its place. The long, hot sands gave way to the green verdure of irrigated land. Did the desert look back upon its day of unproductivity? I don't think so. And did the mountaintop condemn or judge? Did the water complain of the snow refuse to melt? Did the sun withhold its warmth? Now perhaps this is what Jesus meant in one of his great parables, the parable about the laborers. For he said there was a certain man who had a vineyard. Early in the morning he hired laborers to work for a penny a day. Later in the day he hired other men at the third, at the 6th, and the 11th hour. And when evening came, He called them all together, and each received the same compensation. Naturally, some of them objected to this, but the Lord of the vineyard said, I will give unto this last even as unto thee. I will do what I will with mine own. Is thine eye evil, because I am good? In this parable, Jesus was likening the vineyard to life, and the laborers to our relationship with it. Those who early in their experience came to understand their relationship to the Lord of the vineyard, and those who discover the laws of life later in the day, must all finally reap the same reward. In other words, God gives as fast as we receive. God and the spiritual kingdom are timeless. There is no late and no early to this thing called life.
There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it.
Welcome to the Science of Spiritual Reality with me, Mitchell K. Jones. I am never lacking because all my needs are met in divine supply. I give thanks for the infinite channel of holy abundance, and I rejoice in every opportunity to receive and circulate blessings.
I like to start with the denial and affirmation before I get into the lesson for today. So let's say together the denial. I am never lacking. All my needs are met in divine supply. And the affirmation. I give thanks for the infinite channel of holy abundance, and I rejoice in every opportunity to receive and circulate blessings.
Love is the answer, it comes abundantly. The more love I give, Jesus gives more to me. Thank you, Jesus, thank you for love. Thank you, Jesus, thank you for love.
Brothers, sisters, and siblings, radiant expressions of the one presence and one power in the universe, God, the good, omnipotent, omnipresent, you. Hello. With Thanksgiving just around the corner, we naturally begin to think about giving thanks for what we have. It's a cliche, count your blessings. But today, let's also remember that it is perfectly divine to receive, to fully and joyfully receive. God delights in giving, and so do you. As James 1:17 reminds us, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights. So let's all take a deep breath and feel the abundance of life, the love that surrounds you. Gratitude is not just what we express after receiving, but it's the consciousness that opens the door to more good. So when you embrace that you are a divine being who is deserving of all that you receive, you discover that receiving itself becomes an act of thanksgiving. As Jesus said, give and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over.
Today's the first day of November, as I mentioned, All Souls Day. But this is usually around the time we start thinking about the Thanksgiving holiday season. And when we start thinking about Thanksgiving, naturally, we start thinking about giving thanks for what we have. You know, there's a saying, count your blessings. But today, we also are going to remember that it's perfectly divine to receive fully and joyfully. God delights in giving, and so do you. In fact, as James 1:17 reminds us, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights. So, let's take a moment, take a deep breath, and feel the abundance of life, the love that surrounds you. Feel the abundance of divine substance, like this vast soup that we're all swimming in. And we remember, when we remember this abundance, that gratitude is not just what we express after we receive something. In fact, gratitude or thanksgiving is the consciousness that opens the door to the reception of more good. So when you embrace that spirit of thanks, you are deserving as a divine being. And you can discover that receiving itself is in fact an act of thanksgiving. As Jesus said, "Give and it will be given to you in good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, abundantly, opulently." Now I want to tell you a little parable. You've probably heard this before. I'm not really sure who came up with it. A man experienced a flood one day, and he climbed up on his roof with nowhere else to go. And he prayed to God, "Lord, please save me." Well, a few minutes later, one of his neighbors came on a rowboat and said, "Hey, hop in the boat." And the man says, "No thanks, I'm waiting for God to save me." Then a helicopter comes. The helicopter drops a ladder down, and the pilot says, "Hey, grab onto the ladder, come on up." And he again refuses. I'm waiting for God to save me." The man died, and he sees God in the afterlife, and he says, "God, why didn't you save me?" And God says, "I sent a boat, I sent a helicopter, I sent your neighbor on a canoe. What more were you waiting for?" Like I said, you probably heard this parable before, but the lesson is simple yet valuable. That divine help is always flowing to us and through us. But when we hesitate, whether out of guilt, fear, or pride, we block that very blessing that's being sent. So we can practice this. When help, opportunity, or inspiration comes, pause and affirm, thank you. I receive this as my divine right.
Pick up your sword.
He did it because we believed in him. He sent food and water.
So when help, opportunity, or inspiration comes, we should pause and affirm, thank you. I receive this as my divine right.
Poverty is the main cause of the unrest, the disease, the unease that afflicts mankind. Remove poverty by right thinking, and all attendant evils will disappear. This right thinking means that there shall be on the part of the individual a change of attitude toward the dollar.
When we think about Thanksgiving, we think about what we have to give thanks for. And there's an old count your blessings idea. You remember the song, count your many blessings, count them over one by one. We've all been through that, I'm sure. The idea is to find a practice. By all means, go through the splendid routine of giving thanks for things. But there's something more. When you count your blessings, to mention a realization that's come to me recently, count to one before you count anything else. Count to one. Count to the one. The universe, the wholeness, divine mind, God, the divine self, the creative flow. Count to one. You really need to go no farther than that. But the key to Thanksgiving is basically not giving thanks for something. We do that, and sometimes we don't think we have too much to give thanks for. It's giving thanks from something. There's a giving way, a giving thanks from the center of your being. Creative love, intelligence, helpfulness, giving thanks from this. No matter how little you have to give thanks for, you always have the reality to give thanks from. That's where I'd like to suggest you place your center your attention during this Thanksgiving this year. Decide that you're going to turn your thoughts away from the routine of going through all the things of your life that you have that you're grateful for. It's fine to do that, but don't stop there. Take time on this Thanksgiving Day to be still. Give thanks for the universe in which you live. The activity of God that has seen fit to create itself as you, to sustain you, to bless you, to always be with you as your support, your security, your love, your success potential, your health. Give thanks from this consciousness. George Bernard Shaw once said, God has given us a world that nothing but our folly keeps from being a paradise. Nothing but our folly keeps from being a paradise. Have you ever heard somebody say, it's a terrible world? I like to say, what else is there? You got a better one? Can you let the world go and pick up another one someday? Face it, you're in it. I won't say you're stuck with it, but you have the opportunity to be a blessing in it. But it's yours, it's you. The person who counts to one in his quest for something to give thanks for is a person who will always believe and say, it's a wonderful world. It's a wonderful world.
Solomon, with all his wisdom, knew nothing about electricity. Therefore he was compelled to use a candle. God had not withheld anything from him, for God had already given him all he could take. Thousands of years later, someone discovered electricity, coming in at the 11th hour, as it were. But God was not partial to the one who later discovered electricity. He merely gave him what he was ready to take. And to those who accused the Lord of the vineyard of being partial, his answer was, is thine eye evil because I am good? Have you less Because others possess a good equal to yours, is there not good enough to go around? All do not learn the laws of life and the rules of the game of living in the same hour. Is it wrong that we should have the benefits of electricity because Solomon and Moses knew nothing about them? Are the comforts of modern invention evil because antiquity did not enjoy them? The great lesson is that life delivers itself into our capacity to receive it. The outpouring from the cosmic horn of plenty can only fill the cup that we lift to it. A pail turned on its side cannot be filled with rain from heaven. The Lord of the vineyard stands for the love of God and the givingness of the Spirit. The vineyard represents the fruits of life, and we are the laborers. And the reward, the compensation, is the law of action and reaction that measures to each according to his own acts. To the ones who came in at an earlier hour, they represent those who had gained some slight knowledge of spiritual things before others. They are indeed fortunate. But the ones who came into the 3rd, the 6th, and the 11th hours also entered into the kingdom. Their reward must be equal to those who came first. If yesterday we did not know that God is love, then yesterday we could not enter into communion with that love. It is in the hour of recognition that love comes full of to our experience. This parable is a lesson of hope. We are all searching. We are all on the pathway of self-discovery. And this self-discovery cannot be separated from the discovery of God, for God is the supreme self, the ever-present reality.
Because receiving is not selfish. It's spiritual alignment. As it says in Matthew 7:7, ask and it will be given to you. So let's break down the metaphysics of this a little bit. So Charles Fillmore taught that substance is the invisible reality underlying all things. It's the infinite, eternal force that flows through all of us. And when you give, and that giving can be in the form of love, prayer, service, also material things. When you give, you do not lose what you're giving. You're circulating divine energy. In fact, giving is a form of receiving, and receiving is a form of giving. Eric Butterworth said, you don't make your blessings happen. You don't make your blessings happen. You make them welcome. And that's what thinking means.
Receiving is not selfish. It is spiritual alignment. As it says in Matthew chapter 7, ask and it will be given to you. Charles Fillmore taught that substance is the invisible reality underlying all things. It's infinite and eternal, flowing through us. And when you give, whether it's in the form of love, prayer, service, or material things, you do not lose. You circulate divine energy. Eric Butterworth said, you don't make your blessings happen, you make them welcome. That's what thinking means. Making good welcome. Eric Butterworth tells a story about that you'll hear now.
A man that I knew years ago, a delightful fellow, lived in the country, in Arizona, where there were a lot of hills around, and he had a substantial hill in the back of his house. Toward the evening, every day in his retirement years, he climbed to the top of this hill, ostensibly to see the sunset, which was beautiful. and actually to do his, what he called his thank thinking. And to have a frank and honest critique of his day. And the critique was in the sense of Aristotle's meaning of criticism, looking for the good. Looking for the good. So we have a critique of the day, looking for the good. Looking for the good in relationships and people, the news of the day, everything in his life, looking for the good. And spend time there just thinking about it. We mull over things sometimes in a very negative sense. We feel that we're creatively trying to solve the problems of our lives. Many of them are never going to be solved until we dissolve them. They can only be dissolved in our consciousness. By turning from the negative approach to the positive. From the complaining sense to the praising and thankful sense. I give thanks for this day. I give thanks for all the good that's come to me this day. I give thanks for the opportunity to go into tomorrow. Let my light shine. To be more, to do more. Have more in terms of more opportunities to give expression to the light that is in me. This man has always been an inspiration to me. His was a perpetual attitude of gratitude. It was a way of life. A consciousness. You couldn't be in his presence for 5 minutes without feeling this emanating from him. This was a happy, thankful, grateful person. There were times in his life when he didn't have much to give thanks for. They had sharpened and honed this realization of thank thinking in depression times, in times of lack, in times of sickness, in times of family disputes. He developed an awareness that was a way of life. Make every day a day of celebration by Thanksgiving. Committing yourself to celebrating the affluence of the universe. Celebrating the fact that you're born into it. You're born with great potentialities, great possibilities. Yours is the privilege of giving birth to that.
He continues, this man has always been an inspiration to me. His was a perpetual attitude of gratitude. It was a way of life, a consciousness. You couldn't be in his presence for 5 minutes without feeling this emanating from him. This was a happy, thankful, grateful person. And there were times in his life when he didn't have much to give thanks for. But he'd sharpened and honed this realization of thank thinking in depression times, in times of lack, in times of sickness, in times of family dispute. He developed an awareness that this was a way of life. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson. If you got an email from me, you may know this quote. Never lose an opportunity of seeing anything that is beautiful, for beauty is God's handwriting, a wayside sacrament. So when we practice thank thinking, we stop dwelling on lack and we begin to see the abundance that already is. As Deuteronomy 28:12 says, the Lord will open to you his good treasure. Early New Thought writer Henry Harrison Brown also gives a beautiful image in his 1903 book, Dollars Want Me. He says, I never weaken my position by affirming that I want anything. I say it wants me, and I know it will come.
When we practice thank thinking, we stop dwelling on lack and begin to see the abundance that already is. As Deuteronomy 28:12 says, the Lord will open to you his good treasure. Early New Thought writer Henry Harrison Brown, in his 1903 book, Dollars Want Me, gave this beautiful image. I never weaken my position by affirming that I want anything. I say it wants me, and I know it will come. You are the pot of honey The dollars are the flies.
I believe the idea that money wants you will help you to the right mental condition. Be a pot of honey and let it come. Elizabeth Tokes, editor of Nautilus. Man's the elm, and wealth the vine. Stanch and strong the tendrils twine. Though the frail ringlets thee deceive, none from its stock that vine can reave. The laws of this world are written out for him on every piece of money in his hand. Money, which represents the prose of life, is, in its effects and laws, as beautiful as roses. Not an instant would a dime remain a dime. In one it had become an eagle, and in another a copper cent. For the whole value of the dime is in knowing what to do with it. Money is of no value. It cannot spend itself. All depends on the skill of the spender. He needs no money, for he is value. Emerson.
Brown was teaching that life's good is already drawn to you. It's not about wanting or chasing. It's about allowing. So when you say, I want, what you're really saying is, I don't have. But when you affirm it wants me, you align with divine law and you become receptive instead of resistant. In every spiritual tradition, the question of what we want has revealed deeper insights about the human relationship to the divine. Whether framed as desire, passion, or affection, the movement of wanting reveals a dynamic interplay between spirit, matter, soul, and circumstance. Within the metaphysical lineage stretching from Emanuel Swedenborg and Franz Mesmer to the transcendentalists, the harmonial spiritualists, and the New Thought teachers of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, desire was not a problem to be overcome, but a force to be harmonized with. Thanksgiving, in turn, is not just gratitude for what one already possesses, that count your blessings idea, but it's an active alignment with the invisible substance of God that flows through all things. To understand the metaphysics of thinking in Unity and New Thought, we must first trace how these earlier thinkers reconceive the nature of wanting itself. Emanuel Swedenborg provided one of the earliest metaphysical psychologies of desire. For Swedenborg, every affection or yearning in the human heart corresponds to a spiritual reality in the heavens. What appears as personal longing is, at a deeper level, divine love seeking embodiment. True regeneration, Swedenborg taught, involves redirecting our desires from self-centered loves towards uses that serve the divine order. Desire is not evil. It's the divine energy misaligned. When realigned, it becomes what Swedenborg called heavenly affection, the joy of participating in divine usefulness. In this view, desire is not something to extinguish. Instead, it's something to understand as a correspondence. Correspondence is very important for Swedenborg. In this case, a human form of the divine impulse to create and bless. And for everything in the material world, there's a correspondence to something in the material, or in the spiritual world. A little bit later, Franz Anton Mesmer's theory of animal magnetism translated these spiritual intuitions into a proto-scientific language of energy flow. Mesmer posited an invisible universal fluid that connected all living beings. This fluid was a precursor to later concepts like prana or life force. Though Mesmer's theory was soon rejected by medical science, it deeply influenced the harmonial spiritualist movement of the 19th century, including the work of Andrew Jackson Davis. And I should say, though Mesmer's theories were discounted, his methods of mesmerism were actually quite influential in hypnotism and other psychological sciences. But Mesmer and Davis and others in the 19th century regarded health and prosperity as expressions of spiritual harmony, and blockages in the magnetic field or mental field corresponded to spiritual resistance. Again, correspondence. So for them, healing meant restoring the flow of divine energy through mind and body. In this context, wanting was not seen as greed so much as an indicator of misdirected flow. It was a sign that consciousness had turned away from the infinite supply that was always available in divine substance. Later, the Transcendentalists expanded this understanding of flow into the moral and aesthetic realms. Ralph Waldo Emerson described beauty as God's handwriting, a wayside sacrament. Thus, he reveals that thanksgiving is a mode of perception. Gratitude opens the eyes to the divine pattern woven into nature that transforms seeing into reverence. For Emerson and Thoreau, desire purified by contemplation became appreciation. To want rightly is to love reality as it is. Thanksgiving, then, is not a response to possession, but a recognition of participation. It situates the soul in correspondence with the oversoul, the universal spirit that both gives and receives through us. The harmonial spiritualists, including Davis and Warrenfeld Evans, developed this further when they taught that gratitude and harmonious thought restore alignment with the cosmic order. So to them, to think thankfully was to vibrate in tune with divine law. And these themes were inherited and synthesized by New Thought writers at the turn of the 20th century as well. Among them, Henry Harrison Brown, whose 1903 book, Dollars Want Me, I already mentioned, offers a radical reorientation of desire. Again, Brown warns that to affirm I want is to affirm lack. The better affirmation is it wants me. Life's good, Brown insisted, is already drawn to us by spiritual law. So our task is to merely allow it, not to chase it. Brown anticipated insights later echoed by psychoanalysis. Jacques Lacan argued that human desire is never fully transparent to itself. We often want to want, mistaking restless striving for fulfillment. What we pursue are symbolic objects that stand in for deeper absence. This is the separation from our divine center, what Lacan would call the big other.
There is a point in psychoanalysis. It is that people do not really want or desire happiness. And I think it's good that it is like that. When you are in a creative endeavor, in that wonderful fever, my God, I'm onto something, and so on, happiness doesn't enter it. You are ready to suffer. Sometimes scientists, I read history of quantum physics or earlier of radiation, were even ready to take into account the possibility that they will die because of some radiation and so on. You know, happiness is for me an unethical category. And also, we don't really want to get what we think that we want. The classical story that I like, the traditional male chauvinist scenario. I'm married to a wife, relations with her are cold, and I have a mistress, and all the time I dream oh my God, if my wife were to disappear, drop me, it would open up new life for me with the mistress. You know what every psychoanalyst will tell you quite often happens? That then, for some reason, wife goes away, you lose the mistress also. You thought, this is all I want. When you have it there, you turn out that it was a much more complex situation where what you want is not really to live with the mistress, but to keep her as a distance, as an object of desire about which you dream. And this is not just an excessive situation. I claim that this is how things function. We don't really want what we think we desire.
Makes no difference to God whether you give thanks to Him or not. Makes no difference to God whether you have thanksgiving or not. Makes no difference to God whether you bow your head in prayer, get involved in religious things or not. But it makes all the difference to you. See, we put the emphasis in the wrong place. We thought of it as a duty to God, as something we have to do because God demands it. And many of us in the background will say, God will punish us if we don't. That's to look at it from the wrong side. It's important that we give thanks because giving thanks is the way, giving way to the reality within us. There's no way that we can be what we can be without giving thanks. Usually Thanksgiving relates to the things to give thanks for. I'm sure you know of many people who are saying, how can I give thanks this year with the economy as it is, the insecurity in my job, layoffs or fear of layoffs? What do I have to give thanks for? This always reminds me of the classic cartoon some years ago. It shows Mr. President holding up a Thanksgiving proclamation that he's just made. Mrs. President is by his side, and she's saying, but dear, do you think we can enforce it this year? Sadly, there are many people who think that we can enforce it. But Thanksgiving means so much more than just giving thanks for things we have. It's nice if we have them. Surely we could think of the things we have and ask ourselves how sincerely and earnestly we'd be trying to get them if we didn't have them. Think of all the things that you have that you take for granted. Just suppose, to be negative for a minute, that they were all swept away. There's nothing left but just you and your friends, your relationship to the universe. Would you feel empty? Just think of how earnestly you'd be thinking, oh, if I just had that job, if I just had my house, if I just had my family, if I just had, we'd go through all the things that were routine, everyday things that we take for granted. It'd be high on our list of desires if we didn't have them.
Brown's metaphysics resolves this restlessness by shifting focus from grasping to receptivity. Instead of trying to fill the void, one recognizes that divine substance is already flowing towards us, seeking spiritual expression through us. So then the goal is not satiation or satisfaction of the desire, but sanctification, aligning it with its true source and spirit. This vision also harmonizes with Charles Fourier's earlier philosophy of passional attraction from the 19th century, which taught that being possesses innate passions that, when expressed harmoniously, contribute to universal order. Fourier believed that God placed in each soul certain attractions to guide us toward our rightful function within creation. In the same way, Unity's Charles Fillmore taught that each of the 12 powers, which were thoughts in divine mind, which include faith, love, strength, imagination, will, and so on, these are divine ideas implanted in human consciousness as divine potential. When these powers are awakened and balanced through prayer, meditation, and importantly, thanksgiving, they reveal our true desires are not personal cravings, but they are divine callings. Desire, properly understood, then, is God moving in us towards fulfillment. In unity metaphysics, thanksgiving completes the circuit of divine flow. Eric Butterworth wrote, "You don't make your blessings happen, you make them welcome." Thanksgiving is the act of welcoming. In the practice of affirmative prayer, thanksgiving is an integral stage of realization. One begins by denying the appearance of lack and affirming divine substance as present reality, and then gives thanks as though the good were already manifest. This mental posture dissolves resistance and attunes consciousness to divine supply. To give thanks before receiving is to declare faith in invisible substance, the spiritual reality that underlies all manifestation. Taken together, these traditions form a continuous metaphysical genealogy of desire and gratitude. Swedenborg sanctified desire as divine affection. Mesmer and the harmonialists interpreted it as the movement of a universal life force. Emerson transfigured it into an aesthetic receptivity. Brown reversed it into attraction rather than pursuit, and Lacan exposed the illusion of egoic wanting. Fourier grounded it in cosmic passion, while Fillmore completed it through the spiritual practice of thanksgiving. Each in his own idiom recognized that what we truly seek is not more things, but a deeper participation in the divine life. Thanksgiving, then, is a return to the source that forever gives of itself. In learning to think thanks, we rediscover our deepest wants are not personal at all. They're divine ideas of abundance, beauty, and love, seeking expression through us. So instead of asking, "What do I want?" try asking, "What within me is ready to express more of God's good?" The truth is, your highest desires are God's desires, seeking to know themselves through you. You don't need to chase your good. Your good is already looking for you.
It's like the honey pot. You are the pot of honey, and the dollars are the flies. So Brown was teaching that life's good is already drawn to you. And it's not about wanting or chasing, but it's about allowing. So when you say, "I want," in fact, what you're really saying is, "I don't have." But when you affirm, "It wants me," you align with divine law, and you become receptive instead of resistant. The French psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan actually offers an interesting insight here. He says, we don't truly know what we want. Human desire is restless. We want to want. We chase symbols of happiness and success, money, approval, but they never quite satisfy. In fact, oftentimes when people get the thing they think they want, they have sort of a spiritual crisis because they all of a sudden have the thing they thought they wanted, but they're still not happy.
The way in which he reads Saussure, the signifier, the big signifier, over the signified, the little rather insignificant signified, because after all, what does the signified matter? You can never cross the bar, right, to get to it. You are barred from it. This is actually quite different from Saussure's signified over the signifier, anchored by a kind of mutuality whereby it's never a question what generates what, but as to what produces what. Saussure is agnostic about it, and Lacan insists that the big S is that which generates the signified, that from which any possibility of grasping a signified arises and derives. What then is desire? Well, perhaps we've covered it. It is the endless deferral of that which cannot be signified in the metonymic movement of discourse, or of the way in which the unconscious functions. And Lacan is very ingenious in showing, I think convincingly showing us, how it is that we get from one signifier to another. In other words, how what he calls the chain of the signifier works. You have a series of concentric rings, but each concentric ring is made up of a lot of little concentric rings which hook on to associated surrounding signifiers in ways that could be variable. This, I think, very nicely re-diagrams Saussure's sense of the associative structure of the vertical axis, that is to say, of the synchronic moment of language, the way in which some signifiers naturally cluster with other signifiers, and not just one group of signifiers, but a variety of groups of signifiers, but don't at all naturally cluster with just any or all signifiers, so that you get associative clusters in the axis of selection, and they are indicated by this. And as the chain of signifiers unfolds, the one or another of these possible associations links on. And remember, all of these signifiers are made up in turn of a chain of concentric circles. So I think this is a rather good way of understanding the unfolding of metonymy. Now, every once in a while, you get metaphor. Whoa! And it's a moment to be celebrated in Lacan. Because it's, as he says, poetic. There is a gathering together of signifiers and ultimately a substitution of one signifier for another in such a way that one says, aha, I see it. I can't grasp it. I can't have it. But I see it. I see the object of desire. I see what has been displaced by the very act of signification. That's what he calls metaphor, and he sees metaphor as appearing at these points de capiton. Think of this as a quilt. Think of this as quilting buttons, right? That's what a quilt is like. It's filled with something, and then the stuffing is held in place by buttons, right? So the stuffing of metonymic signification is held in place usefully for the analyst, for the reader, for the interpreter by these quilting buttons or point de capiton. And so the example that that Lacan gives is, as I say, he gives several examples. There are wonderful, dazzling readings, both of 4 lines from Valéry and of the 1 line from Victor Hugo. I focus on the Hugo because it's a little easier, just the 1 line. He says, there is something that happens in this line which is metaphoric. And I'm delighted that he uses the word sparks. In other words, the metaphoric, the presence of the metaphor is a spark. Remember I was talking about in Wolfgang Iser the need to gap a spark plug. In other words, the need to have a certain distance between 2 points in order for the spark to happen. If it's too close, it doesn't happen. You just short out. And if it's too distant, it doesn't happen because the distance is too great. The appearance of metaphor on the axis of combination, the way in which we can identify these quilting buttons on the axis of combination is nothing other than what Jakobson said and meant when he said the poetic function is the transference of the principle of equivalence from the axis of selection to the axis of combination. All right, now, Lacan says language is a rebus, as I've said, and he says the movement of the signifier is the movement of desire, and the most obvious consequence is, and this isn't the first time or last time that we will have encountered this in various vocabularies and contexts, is that language thinks me. That is to say, that which brings my thinking into being is not present to me. I am not present to myself. I cannot be present to myself, because what is present is the way in which myself comes into being in discourse which cannot identify me.
N'est pas là quelque chose qui vous a été transmis sans vous véhiculer en même temps toute une réalité frémissante et vacillante, enfin, qui est faite du désir de vos parents. C'est pour autant que dans la formation de chacun, cette incidence par la mère, enfin, par la langue maternelle, enfin, par ce quelque chose qui est à la fois au principe que c'est vers là que se tourne l'amour, que c'est vers cette espèce de frémissant appel, enfin, à l'union dans quelque chose de très évidemment, en effet, comme il l'a dit, aliénant. Enfin, ce qu'il y a d'absolument incroyable, c'est que c'est qu'il s'imagine que c'est en frappant avec ses poings la voûte du ciel que cette aliénation qui est justement ceci, qui fait qu'après tout ce qu'il vous disait, c'était quelque chose qui était un appel, et un appel vers quoi? Vers plus de quoi? Vers plus de vérité. Enfin, sa parole lui paraissait vraiment identique, enfin, à cette vérité dont il se trouvait dans l'occasion être l'instrument, le messager, enfin, l'ange, n'est-ce pas, chargé de vous sortir de quoi? De votre sommeil, en fin de compte.
It's a wonderful world if I see the wonder. If I project the consciousness of giving, become part of the solution to the world's problems instead of being a part of the problem. If I read the news of the day and analyze the things that are going on, instead of saying, oh, that's terrible what's going on, you wouldn't believe it. Count to one. Get the sense of the divine flow within you. What they say about their world doesn't matter, but what about your world? Your world is that which is around you. It's your consciousness. It's your family, your friends, your work, or those parts of your nature that you've imbued yourself in, those things. That's the thing that is the wonderful world. It will always be a wonderful world wherever you are, if you give thanks to one. If you give thanks from the consciousness of God, from the divine flow within you, you'll always have enough. A person will say, I have a need for God's help. For instance, I need guidance. If God would just guide me now, or if I could find the person to guide me. It's a great insight into the spirit of thanksgiving.
The reason is that our deepest desires, our deepest passions, are in fact not personal cravings at all, but they are divine callings trying to surface through us. 19th century French theorist Charles Fourier calls this passional attraction. The idea that every soul, every gift, and every passion in the universe naturally seeks its right expression through whatever means. Just as a flower turns its face toward the sun, our true desires turn towards the good that fulfills our purpose. So in New Thought terms, this is the movement of divine ideas expressing through us. Faith, love, imagination, and will, these are all divine ideas. And when they're harmonized, we don't have to figure out what we want, because Spirit within us reveals it. Desire becomes our direction, and attraction becomes our purpose. So instead of asking, what do I want? Try asking, what within me is ready to express more of God's good? The truth is that our highest desires are God's desires, seeking to know themselves through you. You are the glue that holds spirit and matter together. You are the glue that holds God and the world together. You don't need to chase your good because it's already looking for you. You just need to receive it.
So how do we practice the art of receiving and thinking in our daily lives? Here are a couple of techniques that you can use. First, give first in thought. Before giving time or money, give thanks for infinite supply already flowing. Affirm, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, all that I have, and I am grateful. Next, receive with grace. We often experience guilt when we receive something we do not feel we are deserving of. This guilt discourages others from giving to you. When you receive something, don't allow your need or desire for the gift to diminish your joy at receiving it. When someone says, "You look nice today," or "good job," don't deflect the compliment. Don't diminish it by saying, "Oh, this old thing," or "it's nothing," or "Oh, just doing my job." Say instead, "Thank you, I received that." Or even better, "Thank you, that makes me feel good," because then you feel good. And the other person does as well. So receiving is humility. It honors the divine love coming toward you. Next, circulate your good. Money, love, creativity, compassion, all of this is meant to move. When we cling to what we have, it becomes stagnant. But when we give, share, and express from the heart, life starts flowing again. Charles Fillmore said the universe is an eternal givingness. That means life itself is designed to circulate. You don't have to give a lot, only to give freely. Remember the story that Jesus told about the poor widow who put 2 small coins in the temple treasury. Others gave out of their abundance, but she gave out of love and he said, Jesus said, she has more than all the rest. So he did not measure her gift in dollars, but he measured it in devotion. The same spiritual law applies to us. Giving is not so much about how much you have, but how open your heart is. If all you can give today is a smile, a prayer, a kind word, or a moment of patience, that counts. Those simple acts keep you in the rhythm of divine circulation. So you never need to feel guilty for not having more to give. Spirit doesn't need your money, although the church might. But we know Spirit will provide all we need. God desires your willingness, your consciousness of love, and your trust. True prosperity begins in thought and feeling, not in any bank account. When your giving flows from joy and faith, you are already living in abundance. So whether you're giving a check, a meal, or a moment of kindness, say quietly, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I give. And watch how that simple prayer keeps the current of life moving through you in peace, gratitude, and grace. Another thing you can do is notice small blessings. Abundance is not just big wins, big promotions, big checks, big success. It's enjoying the sunrise. It's laughter between loved ones. It's sharing a cup of coffee with somebody. It's a nuzzle from your cat, a kiss from your partner. In these moments, say, "Thank you, God, for this moment of goodness." And finally, dedicate your day to divine flow. Each morning say, "I'm open to give, to receive, and to circulate blessings in all ways." Then carry that vibration into everything you do that day. This Thanksgiving, don't just count your blessings, become one. Let gratitude rise not only from your lips, but from your consciousness. Giving and receiving are not two different acts. They are one divine heartbeat. Breathe with that rhythm. Give with joy, receive with grace. Let your life be a great amen of gratitude.
We have always been living in the mind of God, but we have not realized it. The awakening is not to God, but to us. Don't you think this is a wonderful concept? That the awakening is not to God, but to us? God did not say, when man made his first reaping machine, "It is too late. You have reaped by hand so long that forevermore you are condemned to the laborious effort of hand harvesting." The laws of nature wait on our recognition, but appear always ready to spring into spontaneous expression for us. Don't you think that love also must wait in the same way? But since God can do only for us what we permit Him to do through us, don't you think that perhaps even God is waiting on our acceptance? And according to this parable, our acceptance cannot be just for ourselves alone. As Jesus pointed out, there is good enough to go around, and we dare not withhold from others that which we desire for ourselves. Perhaps this is one of the greatest lessons of life, and yet how carefully Jesus pointed that this great good we desire will include ourselves through our sharing with others. We dare not withhold this sharing. We should not wait until tomorrow. We should not think it is too late to enter into God's good today. Let us then learn to rejoice in the day in which we are living, to find happiness in the commonplace. In this way alone do we exalt the human. In this way alone can we learn to recognize in each other what the hope of the ages has waited so long to discover, that God really is in His heaven, and that this heaven is right where we are, and that all is right with God's world, and will be right with ours, when we know this and act as though it were true. But we must learn to live as though it really were God's world. The great teacher has told us that we cannot do this until we first learn to do it on that broad-gauge basis which will not withhold any good from anyone. No, it is never too late to learn. It is never too late to enter into that divine inheritance which rightfully belongs to us.
So, here's some practical application in the art of thinking and effective receiving. First, give first in thought. Before you give of your time or of your money or of your resources, give thanks for the infinite supply already flowing around and through you. You can say, which we say before we give our offering every time, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. Next, receive with grace. This is harder than it seems, actually, because we often experience guilt when we receive something we do not feel deserving for. When, we get rewarded for doing some kind of difficult task, what do we say? Oh, it was nothing. Right? Well, this guilt actually discourages others from giving to you. So when you receive something, don't allow your need or desire for the gift to diminish your joy at receiving it. Same thing when somebody compliments you. If somebody says, you look nice today, or good job, don't deflect and don't diminish their compliment by saying something like, oh, this old thing, or it's nothing, oh, I was just doing my job. Instead, say, thank you, I received that. Or even better, I like this one even more. Thank you, that makes me feel good. Because then you feel good, and the other person feels good too. It's infectious. Receiving is humility, and it honors divine love coming towards you. Also, circulate your good. Money, love, creativity, compassion, it's all meant to move. When we cling to what we have, when we hoard it, it becomes stagnant. But when we give, share, and express from the heart, life starts flowing again. Charles Fillmore said, the universe is an eternal givingness, which means that life itself is designed to circulate in that way. You don't have to give a lot, just to give freely. I always remember the story of Jesus, that Jesus told about the poor widow who came to the temple and put 2 small coins into the temple treasury. Others gave out of their abundance, out of their surplus, he says, but she gave out of love. And he said, she has given more than all the rest. So her gift was not measured in the dollar amount that she was able to give, but in her devotion. And the same spiritual law applies to us. Giving is about how open your heart is, not about how much you have. And if all you can give today is a smile, a prayer, a kind word, or a moment of patience, that counts. Those simple acts keep you in the rhythm of divine circulation. So never feel guilty for not having more to give. Spirit doesn't need your money. Church might. In fact, we badly need a new roof, so there's envelopes under your chairs if you feel inclined to do so. But Spirit will provide all we need, and we know that. God desires your willingness and your consciousness of love and trust. True giving doesn't begin in a bank account. It begins in thought and in feeling. Or we sort of metaphorically say the head and the heart, right? So when your giving flows from joy and faith, you are already living in abundance. So again, whether you're giving money, sharing a meal with somebody, sharing a moment of kindness, you can say quietly or silently to yourself, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all I give. And watch how that simple prayer really quickly can keep the current of life moving through you in peace, gratitude, and grace, and bring your vibration to a higher level. Another practice is to notice small blessings. Abundance is not just measured in grand victories, material achievements, career success, all these sort of big life events, influxes of dollars and material wealth. But it also lives in the subtle, ordinary moments that make life luminous. It's in the warmth of the sunlight on your face. It's in the laughter you share with a friend. It's in the aroma of your morning coffee, or the gentle nuzzle of your cat, or the loving kiss of your partner. In these fleeting but sacred moments, take a pause to say, thank you, God, for this moment of goodness. Thank you. By consciously acknowledging these everyday gifts, you train your mind to recognize life's richness even when it seems small or fleeting. And I have sort of two practices to finish up with that you can do at the beginning of your day and at the end of your day. So the first one is dedicate your day to divine flow. And that's fairly simple. So when you wake up in the morning, each morning, say some kind of affirmation to you. One that I came up with is, I am open to give, to receive, and to circulate blessings in all ways. Once again, I am open to give, to receive, and to circulate blessings in all ways. And then carry that vibration into everything you do that day. And then each evening, you can critique your day in the Aristotelian sense. Set aside a few moments at the close of each day to imagine yourself climbing to the top of the hill, or you could do it for real, watching the sunset and allowing the day to settle behind you. In this reflective space, conduct an honest critique of your day in the Aristotelian sense. Look deliberately for the good. Consider your relationships, your actions, and the events of the day, even challenges and mistakes, and identify what they revealed about your growth, character, or capacity to give and receive. And then give thanks for the good that you witnessed. And even for the difficulties, because they highlight areas of learning and opportunity. The difficulties can be blessings as well. As Butterworth emphasizes, this practice cultivates a perpetual attitude of gratitude, transforming complaining into praise, turning lack into the awareness of abundance, and turning ordinary moments into sources of sacred light. You could visualize the stars above as rays of divine energy reaching towards you, supporting and enriching your life, and then commit yourself to carrying out that consciousness in manifestation. Be ready to shine, to give, and to live from this place of your infinite potential. So, friends, this Thanksgiving, don't just count your blessings. Become one. Let gratitude rise not just from your lips, but from your consciousness. And remember that giving and receiving are not two separate acts. They're all part of the divine heartbeat. And breathe with that rhythm. Give with joy, receive with grace, and let your light and your life be a great amen of gratitude. And let's affirm together, repeat after me if you wish. I live in the flow of divine substance.
I live in the flow of divine substance.
I think thanksgivingly.
I think thanksgivingly.
I give freely.
I give freely.
I receive joyfully.
I receive joyfully.
My life is God's prosperity made visible.
My life is God's prosperity made visible.
And so it is. Amen. Amen.
Let's affirm together. I live in the flow of divine substance. I think thanksgivingly. I give freely. I receive joyfully. My life is God's prosperity made visible. And so it is. Amen.
Supply. He who dares assert the I may calmly wait while hurrying fate meets his demands with sure supply. Helen Wilmans. There is neither health nor prosperity without harmony. There is no peace, no health, where there is want. But at want of material supply, wisdom supply, or love supply. Love, truth, and dollars. These are necessary to human well-being. Mind, body, and estate must be cared for. In order that there may be health, happiness, and prosperity, there must be harmony. This harmony is found in merely giving self, the soul, its way. Harmony is living in obedience to mental law. It is found in right thinking.
I'd like you to join with me for just a moment in a time of celebration. I do this in terms of a visualization. It has been said that having seen and felt the end, you have willed the means to the realization of the end. Having seen and felt the end, let's see and feel that which we desire. So close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Like my friend in the country, imagine you have a hill back of your house. At the close of the day, see yourself, visualize yourself climbing to the hilltop, sitting there to witness the sunset. A few moments reflecting on the beauty as the fiery orb sinks into the horizon. Wait patiently as the daylight is swept from the sky. The darkness of night descends, revealing a panorama of twinkling stars. Have a frank and honest critique. Looking for the good. Just look for the good in your day, in your life. Perhaps you even find yourself giving thanks for problems that you've had, mistakes that you've made, that have showed you something better within you, something greater. When you've done something that you think is wrong, you know it, because the fact that you know it's wrong is an evidence that you've grown. You can give thanks for that. And take a moment in this high hilltop retreat to count to 1. As you look out in the stars of night all around you, the support of the universe, think of all those stars as individual rays of light coming direct to you. The hands of the universe reaching out to bless you, to enrich your life, fill your life with good. Give thanks from the consciousness that you're a spiritual being. Infinite potentialities within you. No matter where you are along life's way, give thanks for the fact that you always have more in you, more growing to do, more unfoldment to make, and there's no end. Make the commitment to this feeling of gratitude, commitment to go on, to keep on. Give thanks for the truth that has set you free, that has opened new vistas of awareness to you, helping you to see life as it can be. As you center your attention on the one, make a commitment that you'll become a channel for the light. Bring light and hope and peace and good to your friends, your loved ones, people of your city, the nation, and all the world. Certainly, with this consciousness, this experience of visualization, there's much to be grateful for. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So be it.